Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to untack complex ideas, give you those shortcuts to being really well informed.
That's the goal.
And today we are diving deep into personal finance, specifically Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, the one lots of people call the #1 personal finance book ever.
Exactly. And our mission today, well, it's to explore these really contrasting ideas Kiyosaki lays out about money, wealth, education.
And pull out some maybe surprising insights, things that really push back against, conventional thinking on how you build wealth.
Definitely. And just to be clear, all our insights, they're coming straight from excerpts of the book itself.
Right. This book it's genuinely changed how millions see money. So we're digging in, finding those key nuggets for you, the listener, to help you get more control over your financial future.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The core idea of the book. Kiyosaki talks about having these two dads, right?
Two major influences, yeah. His biological dad, the, quote, poor dad.
Highly educated, though. PhD, Stanford, Chicago.
Right.
Really impressive credentials.
Absolutely. But then there's the rich dad. Not his biological father, but his best friend Mike's dad.
And this guy, street smart, didn't even finish 8th grade.
Right. And these two men had just completely different philosophies about money. Polar opposites, really.
And Kiyosaki says this contrast, it kind of forced young Robert, to think for himself. He couldn't just accept one view or reject the other.
Imagine hearing these things growing up. One dad says, "The love of money is the root of all evil."
A classic phrase we've all heard.
And the other one says, "No, the lack of money is the root of all evil." It just makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
It totally flips things. And another big one he talks about is that phrase, "I can't afford it."
Ah, yes. The poor dad would say that. Kind of shuts down the conversation, the thinking.
But the rich dad, he apparently forbade those words, told Robert to ask, "How can I afford it?"
And that shift, it seems small, but Kiyosaki argues it's huge.
Is it just like positive thinking? Or is there more to it?
Oh, it's way more. It's about training your brain,
Mhm.
making it active, not passive. I can't afford it is like giving up.
Right. You just stop thinking.
Exactly. But how can I afford it forces your brain, your best tool, to actually work, find solutions, exercise that financial muscle.
Makes sense. And their differences went way beyond that, right? Taxes, careers.
Oh, yeah. Taxes.
Yeah.
One thought the rich should pay more. The other, he felt taxes punished producers and rewarded, non-producers.
Interesting perspective. And job.
Career advice. Poor dad. Find a good company to work for. Security. Rich dad. Find a good company to buy. Ownership.
Wow. That's a fundamental difference, even about family.
Even family. One dad apparently said something like, "The reason I'm not rich is because I have you kids." Kind of blaming them.
Ouch.
To the other, "The reason I must be rich is because I have you kids." Completely different motivation.
That is powerful. Using kids as the reason to get rich, not the excuse. And this all feeds into Kiyosaki's main point, doesn't it? That money smarts are learned at home.
Mostly, yeah. Not really in school. That's his argument. Which explains, he says, why you see super educated people, doctors, lawyers, accountants, still struggling financially.
They have the professional skills, the academic knowledge.
But maybe not the financial skills. They know how to earn money, but maybe not what to do with it once they have it.
So it's less about job security in the traditional sense.
That's right. That reliance on a company or the government for raises, retirement plans, benefits. That was the poor dad's view.
And the rich dad.
Total financial self-reliance. Being financially competent yourself. Building wealth independently.
Okay, so if just working for a paycheck isn't the main goal, what is? This brings us to that first lesson Rich Dad gave him, working for like 10 cents an hour.
And then for nothing. Which sounds crazy, right? Exploitative, maybe?
Yeah, a little bit.
But Kiyosaki frames it as a deliberate lesson. A course mirroring real life. Rich Dad wasn't trying to be cheap. He was trying to spark something.
Spark what? Anger. Passion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To get Robert to question the whole trading time for money thing, not just accept it, which leads right into the rat race.
Ah, the rat race. That phrase is so well known now.
Yeah, that pattern. Get up, go to work, pay bills, repeat. Over and over.
Like a hamster wheel.
Precisely. And Kiyosaki says people's lives get controlled by two main emotions here. Fear.
Fear of not having enough money.
Right. And greed, the desire for more, for nicer things.
So you react based on fear and greed, not logic.
That's the trap. You react emotionally, chase the paycheck, buy more stuff, need a bigger paycheck, and you're stuck. you're in the race.
Okay, so breaking out of that race, this next point feels like the absolute core of the whole book, the foundation.
It really is. If you get this one thing, it changes everything. Rich Dad's #1 rule. And it sounds so simple.
What is it?
You must know the difference between an asset and a liability, and buy assets.
Asset versus liability, buy assets. Sounds straightforward.
Deceptively simple, maybe, because the definitions Kiyosaki uses are critical.
Okay, lay them out for us.
Super clear. An asset puts money in my pocket.
Okay, inflow,
A liability takes money out of my pocket.
outflow, got it.
The big kicker here is that most people, he argues, spend their lives buying liabilities that they think are assets.
Like, what's the big example he uses?
Your house, your personal residence.
Whoa, wait, everyone says your house is your biggest asset?
Conventionally, yes.
Mhm.
But by his definition, does your house put money in your pocket every month? Or does it take money out?
Well, mortgage, property taxes, insurance, upkeep. It definitely takes money out.
Exactly. So by his definition, your primary residence is often a liability, not an asset. It's a cash drain, not a cash source, unless you're renting out rooms or something.
That really challenges how most people think. And he shows this visually too, right? With cash flow diagrams?
Yeah, he draws these simple diagrams showing how money flows for different groups.
Hmm.
For the poor, income comes in, immediately goes out to expenses, basic survival.
Okay.
For the middle class, more income comes in, but it flows out to buy more liabilities. Bigger house, nicer car, credit card debt. Expenses rise with income. Still trapped.
Right, still on the wheel, just maybe a fancier wheel.
You got it. But for the rich, the pattern's different. They use their income to buy assets, things like stocks, bonds, income-generating real estate, businesses.
And those assets then generate more income.
Bingo. That income covers their expenses, and the surplus is reinvested into more assets. The assets buy the liabilities, essentially. The cash flow tells the whole story.
And this leads to what he calls the financial nightmare of the middle class.
Yeah, that classic story. You get a raise, great, but then you buy a bigger house. So property taxes go up, you get a new car payments go up, maybe more credit card debt.
So the increased income just gets eaten by increased expenses and liabilities.
Exactly. Still trading time for money, just at a higher level. And he specifically calls out things like consolidating debt into your mortgage. Sounds smart, maybe get a tax break on interest.
But you're stretching that debt out for 30 years, potentially keeping yourself tied down longer.
Right. Still stuck in the rat race, just with perhaps nicer stuff around you.
So the real actionable takeaway isn't just earn more money.
Not primarily, no. It's about building that asset column deliberately, strategically, keeping liabilities and expenses down as much as possible.
Focusing on how much you keep, not just how much you make, and making that money work for you.
That's the core idea. Building a foundation that throws off cash, instead of just you constantly working for cash.
Okay. So building assets is key.
Right.
And understanding how the wealthy structure things, that seems to be the next big piece. He talks about a secret weapon.
Yeah, and this part can be a bit controversial, but it's central to his argument about how the rich play a different game. It involves the corporate structure.
How does he introduce that? Something about Robin Hood.
Right. He kind of flips the script on the Robin Hood story, challenges that take from the rich, give to the poor, ideal. He argues that historically, this idea ends up hurting the poor and middle class more. Governments always need more money, so taxes, even if initially aimed at the rich.
Eventually trickle down to everyone else.
That's his point. He mentions income tax history, England, 1874, U.S. 1913, 16th Amendment, started targeting the rich.
It didn't stay that way.
Nope. Government appetite grew, taxes expanded to the middle class, and kept going. The rich, though, according to Kiyosaki, found a legal way around it, or at least to minimize the hit.
And that way was...
The corporation.
Okay, so when he says corporation, what does he actually mean? Like a giant company?
Not necessarily the building or the factory.
Yeah.
He emphasizes it's just a legal entity. A file folder, basically, with some legal documents inside.
Just paperwork.
Paperwork that creates a sort of financial superpower, legally speaking. Two main advantages he highlights.
Well, that's the first one.
Taxes. Huge tax advantages. A corporation can pay for many expenses before taxes are calculated.
Like what kind of expenses?
Well, he mentions things like vacations framed as board meetings, maybe car payments, health club dues, stuff an employee pays for with after-tax money.
So the corporation earns, spends on legitimate business expenses, and then gets taxed on what's left.
Exactly. An employee earns, gets taxed first, and then tries to pay for everything with what's left over. It's a fundamentally different sequence. A big legal loophole, he calls it.
Okay, that's a big difference. What's the second advantage?
Protection from lawsuits. Corporations and trusts create legal layers. The wealthy can control assets through these structures without personally owning them.
So if someone sues the business, or them personally, the assets held within the corporation are protected.
Largely, yes. It shields personal wealth. He points out that the poor and middle class tend to own everything in their own name, making them much more vulnerable if something goes wrong.
Right. So understanding this corporate structure, plus having general financial smarts, gives the rich a huge edge.
That's the argument. It comes back to control.
Mm-hmm.
If you work for money, your employer has the power. If your money works for you through assets and structures like corporations, you keep the power and control.
It makes you ask, why just climb the corporate ladder?
When you could potentially own the ladder.
Yeah. And on that ladder effectively, he breaks down financial IQ into 4 key areas. What are they?
Okay, 4 pillars of financial IQ. First is accounting, financial literacy, being able to read the numbers, understand financial statements, know what they're telling you.
Makes sense. You need to understand the language of money. Second.
Investing. He calls it the science of money making money.
Okay.
How to put your capital to work so it grows.
Third.
Understanding markets. This is knowing about supply and demand, obviously, but also digging into both the technical side, like reading charts, trends, market sentiment.
And the fundamental side.
Right. Analyzing the actual value, the health, the management of a company or an asset. Is it intrinsically worth buying?
Got it. Technical and fundamental analysis. And the fourth piece.
The law. Knowing the rules of the game, especially around corporate structures, taxes, federal, state regulations. How to use the law to your advantage for tax benefits and asset protection.
So accounting, investing, markets, and law, mastering those gives you that financial edge.
That's what he argues, yeah. It's the combination that's powerful.
Okay, but knowing all this stuff, having the IQ, it's still not automatic, right? People get stuck. Kiyosaki talks about roadblocks.
Oh yeah, very relatable human obstacles. Even if you're financially literate, these things can stop you from actually building wealth. He names 5 big ones.
Let's unpack them. What's the first?
Fear. Big one. Fear of losing money.
Understandable. Nobody likes to lose.
But Kiyosaki says people are so afraid of losing that they lose, meaning the fear paralyzes them. He points out that winning often follows losing. You learn by failing.
Like learning to ride a bike. You fall off a few times.
Exactly. Or a golfer losing balls. He even quotes Rockefeller about turning disaster into opportunity. It takes a certain attitude, some guts, patience with failure.
Oh, fear. What's next?
Cynicism. That chicken little thing, the sky is falling.
Hearing all the doubts, the negative noise from friends, the media.
Right. Cynics criticize, they don't analyze, they let fear disguised as realism stop them. But savvy investors, Kiyosaki notes, often find the best deals when everyone else is panicking in the worst of times.
And he also mentions those I don't wants, like I don't want to deal with tenants.
Yeah, he sees those as potential keys. If you don't want to fix toilets, fine. That forces you to find a solution. Hire a good property manager. Now you're building a team, leveraging others. Cynicism just shuts possibilities down.
Interesting twist. Okay, third roadblock.
Laziness. And this one might surprise people.
How so? Lazy people don't usually get rich, right?
But he means a specific kind of laziness. Busy people can be the laziest, he suggests.
Busy people, how?
By staying busy to avoid tackling the important stuff, avoiding confronting financial problems, avoiding learning something new, avoiding difficult conversations, using busyness as an excuse to not deal with what really matters for their financial health.
Ah. Okay, using activity as a shield against discomfort or effort in the right areas.
Exactly. Fourth is bad habits. He says our lives reflect our habits more than our education.
And the key, bad financial habit.
Not paying yourself first.
Yeah.
That principle from The Richest Man in Babylon.
We touched on that. Put money into your asset column before paying bills.
Right. Most people pay everyone else first, and if there's anything left, maybe they save or invest. Paying yourself first, even when money's tight, creates pressure.
Good pressure.
He argues, yes, it forces your brain to find ways to cover the bills after you've invested. It builds financial discipline, makes you stronger mentally and fiscally, forces you to find new income streams, perhaps. Don't let creditors dictate your savings habit.
Okay, that takes discipline. And the fifth roadblock.
Arrogance, thinking you know it all.
How does arrogance hurt financially?
Rich Dad apparently said, what I know makes me money. What I don't know loses me money. Every time I have been arrogant, I have lost money. Arrogance is often just hiding ignorance, Kiyosaki believes.
So you stop learning. You don't listen to new ideas or different perspectives.
Exactly. You dismiss advice, maybe from someone who knows more about a specific investment, just because you think you're generally smart. Humility, being open to learning, even from unexpected sources, is crucial. The market humbles everyone eventually.
Fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, arrogance. Those are some serious hurdles. So how do we actually start seeing the opportunities that gold everywhere Kiyosaki mentions?
Right. He says most people aren't trained to see it, but developing financial genius lets you spot what others miss. He gives 10 steps to kind of awaken that genius.
Okay, let's hit some highlights. What's a key first step?
Number one is huge. Find a reason greater than reality, your why, a powerful emotional purpose.
Why is that so important?
Because building wealth takes time, there will be setbacks. You need a really strong why, maybe freedom, helping family, a specific goal to push you through the tough times when logic alone might say quit.
Okay, a deep motivation. What else?
Second, make choices daily to invest in education. Not just buying investments, but investing in learning about investments.
Seminars, books, audio programs, like this deep dive.
Exactly. Reading about experts, he mentions Trump, Buffett, keeping an open, humble mind to absorb new ideas, not just assuming you know best.
Third, choose your environment.
Choose friends carefully. Surround yourself with financially savvy people. You learn from them, you hear about deals, you absorb their mindset. He's quite blunt. Hang out with rich people because that's where the money talk happens.
Makes sense. Information flow. Number 4 is about mastering formulas.
Master a formula, then learn a new one. Don't get stuck. The world changes fast.
Like his example of learning about real estate foreclosures, a specific strategy.
Right. Learn one niche, master it, make money, then learn another, adapt. It's about the speed of learning, staying current, continuous improvement.
Okay, number 5, we've hit hard already. Pay yourself first, non-negotiable habit.
Absolutely. Financial discipline cornerstone. Build the asset column first. Don't dig into consumer debt.
6th, pay your brokers well. This might seem counterintuitive to saving money.
But he sees good brokers, advisors, accountants as part of your asset column, really. They're your eyes and ears, providing valuable info that saves you time and makes you money. Don't be cheap with people who can make you wealthy.
Value expertise. 7th is kind of intriguingly phrased. Be an Indian giver. What's that mean in this context?
Yeah, the term itself is outdated, but the concept he's describing is about getting your initial investment capital back out of a deal as quickly as possible while still retaining the asset.
So you reduce your risk to 0, but still own the income stream.
Exactly. Like buying a rental property, refinancing to pull your down payment back out, but still owning the cash-flowing property. Or selling enough stock after a run-up to recoup your initial cost, letting the rest ride as pure profit. Get your seed money back to redeploy.
Clever. Okay, number 8 sounds fun. Use assets to buy luxuries.
This is a big one for listeners, I think. Don't use your paycheck or credit cards to buy that fancy car or big vacation.
So how do you buy luxuries?
You buy or create assets first. Let those assets generate enough passive income, enough cash flow, to pay for the luxury.
So the asset buys the toy, not your labor.
Precisely. He tells that great story about the friend's son wanting a car, getting $3,000 not for the car, but to invest to make enough money for the car. The lesson learned was far more valuable than the car itself.
That's a great mindset shift. Number 9, choose heroes.
Yeah, model successful people, learn from them, emulate their thinking, their strategies. He talks about asking himself, how would Trump handle this negotiation? Or how would Buffett analyze this company?
It's like borrowing their genius. Makes complex things seem easier.
Kind of taps into that, yeah. These big goals seem more achievable if you follow the path of someone who's already done it.
And the last one, number 10.
Teach and you shall receive. The power of giving.
How does teaching help you get richer?
When you teach something, you have to understand it deeply yourself. Plus, the act of giving, whether it's knowledge or money, seems to create a flow, a reciprocity. Share what you have, and more seems to come back. Many wealthy families practice charity and teach financial literacy for this reason, he suggests. Give what you want first.
Those are powerful steps. And he adds some really practical to-dos too, right? Like boots on the ground actions.
Yeah, very concrete things like stop doing what isn't working. Sounds obvious, but how many people keep doing the same thing expecting different results?
True. Take stock and change course.
And actively look for new ideas. Read different stuff, explore niches. Find someone who's done what you want to do and ask them how they did it. Take them to lunch.
Be proactive in learning. What about taking action in the market?
Make lots of offers in real estate, he suggests. Use escape clauses so you're protected, but make offers. You don't get deals if you don't ask. Someone might say yes.
Get in the game.
And physically look around. Jog, walk, drive through neighborhoods regularly. Spot changes. See for sale by owner signs. Notice opportunities before they hit the mainstream market. Profit is often made when you buy, not just when you sell.
Be observant and look for bargains.
Shop for bargains, especially when markets crash. Most consumers run from sales in stocks or real estate, but run towards them at the grocery store. Investors do the opposite. They love a good crash because assets go on sale.
Know where to look, think big, learn from history. It's all about mindset and action.
Absolutely. And this ties into another key model he uses, the CASHFLOW Quadrant.
Right, the ESBI model. Can you break that down quickly?
Sure. It categorizes how people earn income. E is for employee, you have a job. S is for self-employed or an accountant job. Small business owner, you own your job, like a doctor or a consultant.
Those are on the left side of the quadrant.
Right. Typically trading time for money, relying on their own efforts. The right side is B for business owner. You own a system and people work for you. And I is for investor. Your money works for you.
And the goal is to move from the left side to the right side.
Ideally, yes. From relying on your own labor, yes, to having systems and money working for you, BI. That's where true financial freedom lies, according to Kiyosaki.
He uses an analogy for this, doesn't he? Something about water.
Yeah, the water hauler's story. Ed carries buckets of water from the lake to the village every day. Hard work gets paid per bucket. If he doesn't carry buckets, he doesn't earn. That's the ES side.
Okay, the bucket carrier.
Then there's Bill. Instead of carrying buckets, Bill spends his time building a pipeline from the lake to the village. It takes effort up front. Maybe he earns less initially.
But once the pipeline is built,
the water flows automatically. Passive income, he makes money whether he's physically there or not. Bill built a system, an asset. That's the BI side.
Build the pipeline, don't just carry buckets. It's a great metaphor.
And Kiyosaki's own life path reflects this desire to build pipelines. He didn't stick to his initial path as a pilot.
Right, he deliberately went into sales, learned about business, leadership.
He says he worked to learn, not just to earn. He wanted skills that would help him build businesses, B quadrant, and invest intelligently, I quadrant, not just be a highly paid employee, E, or specialist S. He saw the limitations of hyper-specialization.
And this connects to his broader view on education, right? Not just academic.
Yeah, he talks about needing holistic development, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual education. He feels traditional school focuses almost purely on the mental.
And prepares people mostly for the E and S quadrants. Good employees, good specialists.
But maybe not well equipped for the B and I quadrants, for the emotional resilience and different skill set needed for entrepreneurship and investing. Doesn't teach you how to handle risk or failure or manage money effectively outside of a paycheck structure.
Which is why he created the Cash O's board game.
Exactly. To simulate the financial world, teach those B and I skills, accounting, investing basics, distinguishing assets from liabilities in a fun, safe way.
Learn by doing, make mistakes with play money, not real money.
Right. You can't learn to ride a bike just by reading about it. The game provides that experience, that practice, building financial literacy and confidence in a low-risk way.
So it's about finding your own path, which might look very different from the traditional career track, trusting your gut, and committing to lifelong learning in all these different areas.
That sums it up well. Breaking from the crowd sometimes and continuously learning.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, connecting it back, this whole deep dive really hammers home that financial intelligence, that understanding of how money really works. That's your most valuable asset.
Yeah, it determines what you do with the money that comes into your hands, what opportunities you can even see, let alone seize. It's not just about working harder.
It's about making your money work harder for you, building those assets, building those pipelines.
And that brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. Kiyosaki often says, money is only an idea.
Just an idea.
So think about that. After everything we've discussed today, what stands out to you? If money really is just an idea, what new ideas, what new financial thoughts will you start cultivating to build the future you want?